Hello and welcome back to Mindset Matters. My name is Victoria. Welcome to this channel, this podcast. What is going on? I can't even think. So today's going to be a little different. And I'm excited to just chat with you today. I feel like having podcasts with some general themes and structure is great. But today I do have a general theme of what I want to talk about, but I don't have any notes. So we are really going off my stream of consciousness today in true podcast fashion. It's just a conversation. We're going to chat about life. We of course are going to look at it through a lens of resilience, presence, gratitude. You guys know the drill, and I'm just excited to talk to you today. So I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who's been listening. It was really fun yesterday. I got my Spotify Wrapped, and I got one for the podcast. And it was really cool to see, where people are listening, what countries, and to see that there are people from kind of all over the world listening to this podcast, which seems crazy and really fun to me. So I just wanted to say thank you. We're starting off with some gratitude today. And I really appreciate anyone who subscribed to the YouTube channel in the last few weeks. I'm really excited for what's to come, and I'm really excited to kind of build this community. So thank you guys. Now, today I kind of want to talk a little bit about like what I've learned this year and how we can all prepare ourselves for the new year, because currently it is December 1st that I'm recording this. It's December 1st today. So it's officially 1 month until the new year. And I don't know, I feel like the new year can be like overwhelming, and people put a lot of pressure on themselves in the new year of like, okay, I got to set all these goals and I have to do all these things. And once January hits, it's like I'm a brand new person. And I don't know, I feel like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and it's not always realistic to say, okay, I'm going to just change my whole life in January. And I'm sure we've all had New Year's resolutions that just never came to life. So I just want to talk a bit about all the things I've learned this year, because this has been a crazy year for me. It's been a very transformative year. It's been a year of discovering who I am, and it's been a year of discovering that I can do hard things and I can challenge myself, and I'm really proud of myself this year. So I want to just talk about that and hopefully inspire you to also say yes to things and to kind of invite new and exciting things into your life, even if it seems crazy. So that's what we're going to start with. What have I learned this year that I definitely am taking into 2024 with me? So the first thing I learned, I would say, is I learned how to really take action. And I learned that action doesn't need to be perfect. So let me expand on this. So I feel like we all are thinkers, okay? Humans, we have these amazing brains where we think a lot, and we're able to have these streams of consciousness, and we have our, conscious and our unconscious mind. And I feel like I've talked about this before, but we often get caught in thinking rather than doing. And I even think of this like, oh, you could talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? And I don't know, I feel like people get so caught up in thinking about things, whether it's things they want to do, where they want to travel, hobbies that they want to bring into their life, or habits that they're trying to build. But we get so stuck in thinking about it that we often don't even take action, or we don't realize that we're not taking positive action. So this year I learned to take action. And what I mean by that is, or some examples I can give you. First would be my Fight to Win Cancer boxing match, okay? I had to take action to learn how to box and to step into a ring and be prepared to fight in front of an audience. And I've done a whole episode talking about my FTech experience. If you are interested, or you're new and you don't know that I boxed in a real boxing match this year. But that was a really, I think, catalytic experience for me where it's like I showed myself that I could do hard things, and I said yes to this thing that seemed absolutely crazy to me. I trained for 5 months, I showed up, and I won my match. And a lot of it was like mental preparation too, and a lot of it was grounding myself in presence, because boxing is a sport that you have to be so present. So the experience of my boxing journey, it just aligned so well with all these other things that I was discovering simultaneously, like presence being the biggest one. And again, I've talked a whole episode on this, so I will link it for you. I won't get into too much because some people I know have already heard about it. But like saying yes to this experience, it forced me to take action, because it was like, okay, I'm going to learn to box. So now I have to take action to become the best boxer I can within 5 months, be the healthiest version of myself. So I had to take action and thinking about what am I going to eat, getting into my sleeping routine, getting into just like having a lot of structure so that I had enough energy to practice. Like, it was very intense training, and oh my God, I loved it. And I had to take action, within this whole journey. Okay. Another example is this podcast. Me taking action was saying, you know what? Yeah, I actually do want to start a podcast, and I just did it. And I didn't really think a lot of it. I think it took me 3 weeks for me to be a guest on someone's podcast and like having really enjoyed it. 3 weeks later, I had already made my own. That's pretty quick. And it wasn't perfect, right? It wasn't fancy. I had bought a mic and that's it. I already, I was using GarageBand, like very basic. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm going to go for it. So taking action, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I can't stress that enough, because we just often think so long about something, or we're planning things for so long, that then we get in our head about, okay, it has to be perfect before I do it. And that's just not true. So long-winded answer, but taking action, it can be small steps, it can be diving in, and it doesn't have to look perfect. So that's the biggest thing I've learned, and something I really want to take with me into 2024. And again, not to say that planning and like thinking strategically about things isn't important, because yes, I think they are. But sometimes you have to make the decision to just go for it and know that it's going to work out, and know that you can almost, like, your mind can almost catch up as you take the action, if that makes sense. I guess the second thing I learned, that is, again, going back to my fight twin cancer, is I really learned that I can do challenging things, and that I can push myself way out of my comfort zone. Boxing in a real match, way out of my comfort zone. But I did it, and I won, and I showed up, and I kicked ass. And I'm so proud of myself. And, I did the photo shoots, the media events, I did the whole thing, and I was promoting it to raise money. Like, I really put myself out there in a way that I haven't done before. And it had been so long since I competed. I grew up playing soccer competitively, but it had been so long since I had like trained with a coach and like been working towards something. And it just felt so good to, be a part of a team and like really be doing something positive. So challenge yourself, push yourself out of your comfort zone. If there's an opportunity that comes to you, I urge you to say yes and to do it if you get that feeling, right? So I guess that kind of goes into my next point of like trusting your intuition. This year, I really learned to tune into my intuition and that gut feeling, whether positive or negative, right? I think our gut feeling is rarely wrong, or never wrong. I don't know if I should say never wrong, but often our gut feeling is like our heart, what we actually want, right? So you have to think about it. And I think taking into account, okay, your logical brain, if you're a logical thinker, and then pairing that with, your heart's desire, whatever that gut feeling is. But I don't know, I feel like our gut feelings are often right. Our intuition often knows. And again, whether that's positive or negative, there's been situations where I had a gut feeling like, I don't think I should be here, or this isn't right for me. And tuning into that and listening to your body and listening to what your intuition is telling you is really insightful. It's really helpful to figure out what you actually want and don't want, or if you're safe or unsafe. So try to learn to trust your intuition. The next really big theme of my life, which has been a theme of my life for over a year now, I would say last October, I really started diving into presence. Of course, presence is one of the themes on this podcast, but this year I feel like I really learned and discovered like what real presence is and what it truly means to be in the moment, and also like how to come back to the moment when you're out of it, because it's so easy to start thinking about the future or stressing about something or worrying about something that already happened and how it could affect you. But presence is like truly letting it all go and just doing what you can right now and accepting where you are. And I've really learned to just accept the stage of life that I'm in and accept the fact that I don't have it all figured out, and accept the fact that there's really only now. Like, the future isn't real. The future is something that hasn't happened yet. And the past is like, it's already gone. It's done. Like, the only real moment you have is this exact moment. And when you can come back to that moment as often as you can, you realize that like your problems kind of just drift away. And I'm going to give you an example. So there's something that's called like waking up. And this is from the book Transurfing in 78 Days. I've talked about this book before. Highly recommend. Basically teaching you how to shape your own reality and how life is a mirror. What you put out is reflected back to you, etc., etc. But one concept they talk about is like waking up. And the amount of times you can wake up, the more you can wake up during the day. And waking up is like realizing that you're out of the present moment. So if something happens and you're frustrated and you're like, oh, this is going to ruin my day or blah, 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 wake up. Snap yourself out of it, come back to the moment, and you realize, wait, this is silly. Like, I don't need to be stressed about this, or this is just a silly moment. I can move on. So that to me is a huge thing of like letting the little things ruin our day. If you're sitting in traffic and you're late for something, suddenly you're like pissed off and annoyed, and you're going to let that trail into your day. The more negative energy you put out, the more negative energy is going to be reflected back to you. So if you let a tiny thing get you in a bad mood and then suddenly you're entering the space you're going to with negative energy, like bad things are going to keep happening, right? It's like, oh, bad things always come in threes. Well, it's because we're the ones causing it. But if you have a bad moment and then you wake up, you come back to the present and you realize, okay, wait, like, why am I upset? Like, this is not a big deal. Drop the importance of the thing and move on. Then like you're going to be fine, right? Probably like last week, I made a TikTok saying how I was having a bad morning. It was like, I haven't been sleeping, honestly, since my surgery. I have not been sleeping well. So I hadn't been sleeping well. I can't even remember, but it was all these little things kept happening. But I woke up and I said in the TikTok, I'm like, I'm not going to let this ruin my day. And I actually had a great day that day. I remember it. But I think it's just important to recognize when we're frustrated, when we're out of the present moment, and then wake up and come back, because you'll almost always realize that like you're creating your own problems in a way. So try it. Try to just wake up. Anytime you're frustrated, take a breath, come back to the present moment and think, why am I actually frustrated? You know, or is this actually a big deal? Because often it's our ego making things a big deal. And if you think about it, you're like, wait, like this is actually like no big deal, or just accept it. Okay, there's traffic. Hello, like, is that new? It's not a new concept, you know? Or okay, you tripped and stubbed your toe. Ouch, but okay, move on. Like, it's gonna be okay, you know? Here I am. I've been stuck at home for a month because I've had surgery, and it's not always easy, but it's like, hello, like this is my situation. If I'm upset about the fact that I'm injured or like healing, it's not going to change the fact that I'm healing and can't do everything that I want to do, right? So it's like, how can you channel your energy differently? I'm so cozy, by the way. I don't know if I showed you. I have myself a little iced coffee. I just love this little space. I love this couch. I haven't been filming over here. I'm also just on the floor. We're going back to the roots, okay? And I really want this episode to be less edited, more just like we're casually hanging out. Anyways, okay, so we're gonna kind of shift gears here, but I hope that some of the lessons that I've learned this year have, can be something that's also applied or applicable to your life, and that you feel you can take with you or, try to implement if it's something that resonated with you. And I kind of want to shift now and talk a little bit about 2024. And like, okay, we've got 1 month, let's get ready for the new year. So I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but I know that New Year's can be stressful, or it can feel like it's this big deal, and it can feel like, uh-oh, I gotta change my whole life. But like, let's just take a step back and think about what a new year offers, and having this time, like this 1 month, to prepare yourself and kind of start now so that it's less overwhelming. But to me, the new year is exciting because I love reflecting on how things went this year, and I love seeing how far I've come and how much I've grown, and just reflecting on how different of a person I am. Like every year I'm like, holy shiz, I am a whole new person. Like I always feel like I've grown so much, and especially the last 2 years, I feel like 2021 was a really tough year for me. 2022 was kind of me coming out of that and still really challenging, but trying to kind of get it together. And this year I finally feel like I just took action, and I really had, for the most part, a good year. It's interesting to think, actually. Okay, this is a bit unrelated. We're going back again. But it's so interesting. Like my first half of my year, from January to May, was like fight to win cancer, busy, learning to box, everything. And then I got injured in July. So the first half was very much like I was so fit. I got the best shape I've been in since probably like high school. And I don't know, I just felt so good. And then I got injured again. And it was like so soul crushing in a way, because I'm just such an active person. Like I haven't worked out properly like since July. Like that is so sad to me. It's December. Oh my god. Like it's actually really sad for me to think about like how much muscle I've lost, or like how strong I got, to then just like kind of being depleted. But it's like, despite that, I've still had a great year, and I still feel like I've channeled my energy into the things that I could do, and I've really focused on like seeing the good and the positive outcome of this. And I'm so thankful that I was able to get surgery this year, and now it's like, okay, we're healing, and 2024, watch out, like I'm back. So I just think, like, no matter your situation, you can always channel your energy into, good vibes or positive space. Like you don't have to be sad about your circumstances. And I'm really proud of myself at how present I've stayed, given the fact that my year has just been like severely divided into like half one and half two because of my injury. And it's like they're completely different halves, but I still feel like it's been a good year, you know? So anyways, I just wanted to mention that because I feel like sometimes life throws us things that we don't want, aka my injury, but like you have to make the most of it, or you have to accept that shit happens. I think that's the first time I've ever sworn on this channel. Maybe I'll bleep it out. Okay, so let's jump into 2024. How can we use this last month of 2023 to kind of get ourselves ready? So the first kind of exercise that I like to do is called Stop, Start, Face, Embrace. And it's a reflection, so you could do it in a journal. For example, the Mindset Matters journal. Just saying. And you can type it out, you could just think about it. I like journaling, so I'm going to write it down. But stop, start, face, embrace. So what is something that you want to stop in 2024? Maybe there's a bad habit that you want to cut out. Maybe it's something you just want to reduce, like, I want to cut down on my sugar intake. It doesn't have to be you're cutting it out completely, but, you want to stop consuming as much sugar, let's say. Then we have something you want to start for 2024. So what is something new you want to bring into your life? Again, it could be a new hobby, an activity. It could be a type of habit, like you want to read every day, you want to exercise, like whatever it is. What do you want to start? What do you want to face in 2024? This one can be challenging, but when I think of facing something, I think of like a fear. So what is a fear? Something that you've been afraid of, but maybe you've been like teetering the idea. What do you want to face this year? It could be big, it could be small. Okay, and then what do you want to embrace? Embrace to me is like, is there something about myself that I don't love, or that I've been talking about negatively, or that I just need to embrace about myself and love about myself and accept? Okay, embrace who you are, embrace where you are. Maybe it's just, I want to embrace that I am in this stage of my life, or I want to embrace the present moment. So whatever that looks like for you. So that's an exercise I would recommend. I think it just really gets you in a good headspace of like, okay, what are some things I want to do differently? And what do I want to change? What do I want to bring in? Etc. Another thing that I did last year, and I'm actually dying to read it. So I tried scripting. Scripting is essentially you're writing from the perspective of the future, but you're writing about the past. So for example, that was like the worst explanation. So last year I scripted my year of 2023. So it was December 2022, and I wrote from the perspective of December 2023. And I wrote about my year as if it had already happened. So I'm saying, hey, this is how my year went. I talked about winning my Fight to Win Cancer match for sure. So it's like you're literally planning your year and talking about it as if it's already happened. And I have been dying to read what I wrote, because I'm like, how much of this came true? And the whole point of this is like to manifest and to get yourself ready to take action, because if you write it down as if it's already happened, the idea is that more of it will come true. And subconsciously, you're going to be thinking about, well, it's already happened, so the universe is working with you to make it happen. Okay? That's my little manifestation 101. So I scripted last year, and it's like you're writing from the perspective of your highest self. So how would my highest self handle these situations? And that's been something I've been asking myself a lot. And again, it kind of helps you come back to the present moment of like realizing that things aren't that serious too. Because like my highest self would not be upset about traffic. She'd be dancing in the car, and like she'll get where she's going when she gets there, So that's an activity I'm going to do again this year. I really want to read mine from last year, but I'm waiting till a little later in December, because I feel like it's too soon. I think I wrote it I want to say it was like on the 27th. So I wrote it really late last year. But yeah, that's something I want to do again, scripting. And let me know if you try it. Comment below if that's something that you are interested in trying. Another thing I think is so helpful moving into the new year is decluttering. Okay, this is kind of off topic of like mindset, but decluttering your life. Okay, this is like in multiple areas. So one, decluttering your physical space. I love going room to room, drawer to drawer. Like, what can I get rid of? What can I organize? It's like I want to go into 2024 knowing exactly what I own, how much stuff I have, and like clearing stuff out. I love decluttering. I know some people really hold on to things, but I personally love decluttering. I love clearing out my closet. Like if there's stuff I haven't worn all year, get rid of it. We've gone through all the seasons at this point. If I haven't worn it at all this year, bye. I can get rid of it. So decluttering, another way to declutter is digitally. So I use Notion. Why did I say digitally? Digitally? A digital declutter. So I use Notion to organize my life. I have like a podcasting page. I have a personal page with like an online journal, and like I plan travel on there. Like I have all these different pages. And Notion or any online like space can get messy too. So going through it and like archiving what you can archive, go through your downloads, what can you delete. So doing a digital declutter of your laptop can be another great way to just like clear out and feel fresh. Like I love the sound of like emptying your trash bin. It's like, and it's like, oh, all the trash is gone. Love that. Let's declutter. So decluttering physical space, your digital space, decluttering your relationships. Let's talk about that. So if there's people in your life that are not serving you, or if you feel out of place, or you feel like there's some social situations that you're just not loving, maybe it's time to declutter and say goodbye to certain people, or just spend less time with certain people. I think we forget that like friendships grow and change, and not everyone's going to be an every weekend friend. I honestly don't see my friends that often anymore. Like I don't have any friends that I see every week. It just doesn't happen. And that's okay. But I also feel like it kind of helps your friendships to like not see people so often. I don't know. Anyways, I just think about the social situations that you put yourself in this year. Where do you feel you're most happy? Where do you maybe want to declutter a little bit? Clean up? I don't know if this is really decluttering, but I think you get the point. I guess the theme of this is just like advice for the new year, but I cannot stress enough that life is meant to be lived right now where you are, and realizing that like none of us really have it figured out, it's kind of comforting. Like I don't know, I feel like I'm in this stage of life where I'm like figuring out what I want all over again, and I'm okay with that. And I think I just have this trust that like everything's going to work out and that I'm not worried about it. And that helps because it's like, it allows me to be present because I just genuinely trust that like it's going to work out for me, or like things are working in my favor. So trying to really think of life or look at life through a positive lens and realize how resilient you are. Think about all the things that you went through this year. What are the good things? What are the bad things? Look at how far you've come and how amazing you are. You are so resilient, and you've been able to get back up after being set back. And I think that's what life is like, life is not going to be perfect. Life is not going to be butterflies and roses and rainbows all the time, but it's your ability to get back up after the rainstorm, if you will. Like that's what makes life special. And I love life. Like I genuinely love this journey that is life, and I hope that you do too. And I hope that you're learning to just embrace where you are, and know that it's okay if you don't know what the heck you're doing or where you're going or what you want. Like we're going to figure it out. And that is kind of where I want to leave it today. So I hope you were able to get something from this. I hope you were excited for the new year. Comment down below, is there any, activities or anything that you like to do to go into the new year? Whether it's a mindset shift, whether it's journaling, whether it's, okay, you're going to try the stop, start, face, embrace activity. Like, what do you like to do to prepare yourself for New Year's? And what kind of goals are you setting for yourself? I would love to know. And yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week, and we will chat next week. We have got a couple guests lined up, actually, that I'm very excited about. So stay tuned for that, and I will catch you next time.